For the past 2 years, Jocko Fuel has been the only supplement I've consumed. It's helped me stay in shape now that my competitive career is finished. If you've been waiting to try Jocko, the wait is over. Jocko has now teamed with Walmart, bringing clean fuel to the entire nation. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all the good stuff and none of the bad. And I'm talking no added sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. Jocko Fuel is now available in Walmart nationwide. Products available at your local Walmart are Jocko Malt, ready to drink, Jocko Malt powder, and Jocko pre-workout. How convenient. Guys, the time is now. Consider trying some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. You can even do it online. Use code CHAEL30 at JockoFuel.com or just stop by your local Walmart and get your hands on some Jocko ASAP. Don't wait, might not last. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Now there's no excuse for not having clean fuel. Guys, I want you to go get Jocko Fuel today at Walmart. The story, as the PFL would like it to be told, and they were the ones telling the story, are our partners. The PFL does business in Riyadh with the same folks the UFC does business with in Riyadh. Our partners want Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. And see, you got you understand, this is a very good play, and there's not a lot of plays around it. You can try to dismiss it if you want. Then again, addressing it becomes kind of tough. Like, that's called fight promotion. You start addressing it, and you start addressing why you don't want Jon Jones and why you can't deal with Jon Jones. And it doesn't matter how good your arguments are or even what they are. As long as they exist, it keeps it alive, and it raises it, and it raises it, and it raises it. And that's fight promotion. The first step that any of you will see in the direction of Jon Jones taking on Francis Ngannou, the first step will be the UFC addressing and refusing the contest. And I love the chess play here. I don't wholly doubt that somebody has said we would like to see Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. I don't wholly doubt that. But I don't wildly accept, because the numbers that Francis did there were not good numbers. That's just the truth. The boxing fight with Fury was one of the most amazing sporting events I've ever seen. The numbers weren't very good numbers. The numbers for Francis versus Joshua, which had a lot of excitement because now we knew how well Francis could actually do. Boy, they played to thousands of people dressed up as empty seats. And what do you want to do with him next? What do you want to do? You've got him. You got the arena. You got the money. What do you want to do with him? You want to put him back in boxing? Because he'll go. Is there somebody you'd like to see him box? Do you want him in MMA? Because you got the money and he'll go. And I'm just curious, first off, how serious those conversations actually were. That, hey, we would like to find a way. We would like to get Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. I would just personally be curious how far those went. Now, do you want Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, or can I just bring you Jon Jones? I mean, that might be one question that you ask. Yeah, I'm doing business here, they're doing business here. On one of the nights I do business, would you like me to bring Jon? No, that's not going to do it? All right. Well, what's the story? Why would Francis and Jon fight? And is the story because of the co-promotion? Because that's new. If that's new and that's strong, please, I would love to hear from you. But the idea of Jon and Francis fighting in and of itself wasn't big enough to make those guys agree to do it when they were both under contract and could have done it. So is it the co-promote? Is that? You'd be teaching me something, but I'd be open to learning. Is that what it is now? There's something called a Gracie Challenge. And the Gracie Challenge is very real, but it was very synonymous. As this sport grew, you could walk into a Gracie gym. Some people call them dojos. And right off the street with whatever martial arts or skills you had, you could challenge a Gracie. You could challenge Hoyce. You could challenge Henzo. You could challenge Hickson. But the way this was generally played, if they were there and they would accept the challenge, that was like just a culture of the sport. But before we do that, you're going to have to beat one of my guys. One of my students who is not yet of my level, you're going to need to beat him. And if you beat him, you can then go with me. And many times there'd be a black belt in there, and that match didn't last very long. And some days, a purple was the highest that had showed up. And they would take on the purple belt, and it wouldn't last very long. But we did understand the concept, didn't we? And you would also understand if you were the Gracie, and that's what you've done your life. You've fought, you've taught other people to fight. Maybe you got a fight on the books coming up. Maybe you just had one. You would see where maybe you don't want a guy to come in off the street and challenge you. You will uphold the code because that's the way the game is played, but perhaps you don't really want to. And one of these younger guys, boy, they love it. They love to have that opportunity. They dream of doing these things. They'd love to be the one that the coach selected. You see how everybody kind of wins? And I bring that to you because if you did have the power, if you really had the power to make this fight, would you? Because if you had the power to make the fight, Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, and you're going to take it to Riyadh, just for example, then you would have the power to make Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall. If you were given a magic wand that could get Jones and Francis, you would then have the power to have Francis and Aspinall. And what would happen then? And what happens if Aspinall wins? Right? And that's always the big question. Like, everybody wants to play today, and our partners want it, and we want to do this. Well, what would you do if Francis won? Do you take your chips? You go home? It was a one-time deal. That's the way we call it. It's straight down the middle. I don't have the answers to that. And I like the story. And I think Don Davis is as good with promotion and an ability to tell a story as anyone, but nobody has called him on this, which lends me to believe it's accurate. It lends me to believe that their partners would like to see that fight. And if you could make it, would you? I mean, if you make Jones and Francis, you're probably never getting Jon back. That is the kind of fight where Jones could then ride off into the sunset. So you're going to set fire to Jones Aspinall. I mean, you understand all the things that would come with it. But if you talk about wanting to do Francis versus Jones, the people that should be pushing back and arguing with you are your own heavyweights that you have under contract saying, hey, you're looking to go somewhere else. We're standing right here. None of which have done that. None. And it's an interesting spot. It's an interesting spot. It's a card play I wanted to see years ago when Francis was going to leave the UFC and go and box Fury. The play I wanted to see was to Dana go, okay, you want one of my guys here, you got him, and put Jon Jones in. I would have thought that Jon Jones versus Fury would have been something special, but it also would have ended that entire craziness of my knee hurts and I'm going to sit for 11 months and I'm not fighting anybody and I'm not paid enough. It would have been a vindictive and spiteful move, but it would have been done in retaliation to a vindictive and spiteful move. So, would you do it? If you had the ability to do it, would you do it? Do you really want to see Jon and Francis, particularly if you know the winner never fights again? Right? If Francis goes and beats Jon, he doesn't then go, well, Tom Aspinall's the next contender, and sure, I'll go defend it. He'll never fight again. If Jon beats Francis, we will never see him again. Is that the one? Is that really the one? Because I know you guys liked the fight, and I know you even wanted to see it, and I know there was even some chatter for it, but at one point, they were both under contract, and when it didn't come to fruition, you got up and you moved on. As a matter of fact, you moved right into Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones in the fight capital of the world known as T-Mobile, and it was absolutely sold out. So I'm just curious. How you would play this. And if you did accept the fight, why do we got to do it on your cameras? Or why do we got to do it on your surface? Why don't we do it over here? It's just discussion. It's a road that isn't going very far, but it's interesting. It was the right move by Don Davis. And by the way, I think it's an accurate move. I think they would like to see that contest. What are they willing to do to see that contest? I suppose that's what we're all wondering.